You know what's wild? You could have two people making the exact same salary, let's say $75,000 a year, living in the same city, with similar expenses, and in 20 years, one of them will be a millionaire living on passive income, while the other is still living paycheck to paycheck, wondering where all their money went. Same income, same time period, completely different outcomes. The difference isn't luck. It's not inheritance or some secret investment strategy. It's that they're operating on completely different money levels, and most people don't even know these levels exist. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth, while others work their entire lives and have nothing to show for it. If you're someone who feels like you're working hard, making decent money, but still can't seem to get ahead financially, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this information helps you finally understand what's been holding you back. Here's the thing that most people don't realize. Personal finance isn't just about how much money you make or how much you save. It's about what level of financial thinking you're operating on. And there are three distinct levels that determine whether you'll spend your life broke, comfortable, or actually wealthy. The problem is that 99% of people are stuck on level 1, and they don't even know level 2 and level 3 exist. They're playing a completely different game than wealthy people play, and then they wonder why they're losing. Let me start by describing level 1, and I guarantee you're going to recognize this because it's where almost everyone lives. Level 1 is what I call trading time for money. This is the level where you go to work, you get a paycheck, you spend that paycheck on your life, and then you go back to work to get another paycheck. It's a linear relationship. You work 40 hours, you get paid for 40 hours. You work 50 hours, you get paid for 50 hours. The moment you stop working, the money stops coming in. Now, here's what makes level 1 so insidious. It feels productive. You're working hard, you're earning money, you're paying your bills. You think you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Society tells you to get a good job, work hard, and save for retirement. That's level 1 thinking. And it's not completely wrong, it's just incomplete. It's like playing a video game and not realizing there are additional levels beyond the tutorial stage. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median American worker earns about $1,085 per week, which works out to roughly $56,000 per year. That's decent money. You can live on that. But here's the problem. At level 1, your income is capped by the number of hours you can work. Even if you get raises and promotions, there's a ceiling to how much you can earn because you're still trading your time for money. You only have 24 hours in a day, and you can't work all of them. Let me give you a concrete example of what level 1 looks like. Meet Sarah. She's 32 years old, makes $65,000 a year as a marketing coordinator, rents an apartment for $1,400 a month, has a car payment of $380, and spends about $3,000 a month on food, utilities, entertainment, and everything else. After taxes, she's bringing home about $4,000 a month and spending about $4,800 between rent, car, and living expenses. Wait, that math doesn't work. Exactly. She's putting about $800 a month on credit cards to cover the gap, telling herself she'll pay it off when she gets that raise she's been promised. Sarah is firmly stuck in level 1. She's working hard, earning decent money, but she's on this treadmill where she can never get ahead. Every month is the same cycle. Get paid, pay bills, run out of money, repeat. And the truly terrifying part is that Sarah thinks she's doing fine because she looks around and sees that everyone else is in the same situation. Her friends are all living the same way. They're all trading time for money and spending every dollar they earn. Here's what most people don't realize about level 1. It's designed to keep you stuck. Your employer pays you just enough to keep you coming back, but not enough to build real wealth. Your lifestyle expenses expand to meet your income, so even when you get raises, you never seem to have more money left over. And society has normalized this completely unsustainable relationship with money. We call it having a good job and being responsible. But really, it's just an elaborate system for keeping you on the hamster wheel your entire life. The statistics on this are genuinely depressing. According to a 2024 survey, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Not 60% of poor people, 60% of all Americans, including people making six-figure salaries. They've scaled up their lifestyle to match their income, but they're still operating on level 1. They're still trading time for money with nothing left over. And the really scary part? Most of these people think they're middle class and doing fine. They have no idea they're one emergency away from financial disaster. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a level 2, and it changes everything. Level 2 is what I call building assets. This is when you stop just spending your money on things that disappear and start using your money to buy things that generate more money. It's when you shift from being purely a consumer to being an investor. And this is where most people completely fail because they don't understand the fundamental difference between spending and investing. Let me break this down with real numbers because this is crucial. At level 1, if you have an extra $500 at the end of the month, you spend it. Maybe you upgrade your phone, take a weekend trip, buy some clothes, whatever. That $500 is gone forever. You got some temporary enjoyment, but you have nothing to show for it. At level 2, if you have an extra $500, you invest it. You put it into an index fund, a retirement account, dividend-paying stocks, or some other asset that will generate returns. Here's the math that should change your life. If you invest $500 per month starting at age 25, earning an average 8% annual return, by age 65, you'll have $1.75 million. If you wait until age 35 to start, you'll have about $745,000. Same monthly investment, half the outcome, just because you waited 10 years. Time is the most powerful force in wealth building, and every year you spend stuck in level 1 is a year you can't get back. But most people never make it to level 2 because they're trapped by level 1 thinking. They tell themselves they can't afford to invest because they need that money for living expenses. They're not wrong, but they're missing the point. The reason they need every dollar for living expenses is because they've structured their life to consume their entire income. If they made 20% more, they'd still need every dollar for living expenses because they just spend more. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's the primary mechanism that keeps people stuck on level 1 forever. Here's what level 2 actually looks like in practice. Meet Tom. He's the same age as Sarah, makes the same $65,000 per year. But Tom lives differently. He rents a smaller apartment for $1,100, drives a paid-off car that costs him maybe $150 per month in insurance and maintenance, and keeps his living expenses around $2,300 per month. After taxes, he's bringing home about $4,000 a month and spending $3,450. That leaves him $550 per month to invest. Tom isn't depriving himself. He's not eating ramen every night or living miserably. He's just made different choices. He chose a smaller apartment in a slightly less trendy neighborhood. He chose to keep his old car instead of financing a new one. He chose to cook at home more often instead of eating out constantly. Small differences in spending that add up to massive differences in wealth building. That $550 per month Tom is investing, in 20 years at 8% returns, that becomes $306,000. In 30 years, it's $745,000. Tom has bought his freedom. By the time he's in his 50s, he could stop working entirely if he wanted to, because his investments are generating enough passive income to cover his modest lifestyle. Meanwhile, Sarah is still on the treadmill, still trading time for money, still wondering why she can't get ahead. But here's what separates level 2 from level 1 beyond just the math. It's a complete psychological shift in how you think about money. At level 1, money is something you earn and spend. At level 2, money is a tool you use to buy your freedom. Every dollar becomes a choice between temporary consumption and permanent wealth. And once you see this difference, you can't unsee it. Now, most people who make it to level 2 think they've figured it out. They're saving money, investing consistently, building wealth. They feel smart. They feel like they've escaped the rat race. And compared to level 1, they have. But there's a level 3 that most people never reach, and it's where real wealth gets built. Level 3 is what I call money making money. At level 2, you're still working for money. You still have a job. You still trade your time for a paycheck. You're just being smarter about what you do with that paycheck. But at level 3, your money works for you. You've accumulated enough assets that the returns on those assets exceed your living expenses. You could stop working tomorrow and your lifestyle wouldn't change because your investments generate enough passive income to cover everything. Here's where this gets really interesting. The transition from level 1 to level 2 is about behavior change. You need to spend less and invest more. It's hard, but it's straightforward. The transition from level 2 to level 3 is about scale and patience. You need to accumulate enough assets and give them enough time to grow that they become self-sustaining. Let me give you the math on this because it's actually less intimidating than most people think. Let's say your annual living expenses are $45,000. That's a pretty comfortable lifestyle in most parts of the country. If you can live on that, you're not suffering. To reach level 3, you need enough invested assets that they generate $45,000 per year in returns. Using the 4% rule, which is a conservative withdrawal rate that financial planners use, you'd need about $1.125 million invested. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mike, $1.125 million sounds impossible. That's not achievable for normal people. But here's what most people don't realize. If you consistently operate at level 2, you will eventually reach level 3. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And the when depends entirely on how aggressively you invest and how modestly you live. Let's go back to Tom. He's investing $550 per month, starting at age 32. At 8% annual returns, he'll hit $1 million by age 62. If he increases his investments as his income grows, maybe getting to $800 per month by age 40, he'll hit $1 million by age 58. If he keeps his living expenses low and invests even more aggressively, maybe $1,200 per month, he'll hit $1 million by age 54. This isn't theoretical. This is basic compound interest math that anyone with a steady income can achieve. But here's what makes level 3 truly transformative. It's not just about having a big number in your investment account, it's about complete financial freedom. At level 3, work becomes optional. You can pursue passion projects that don't pay well because you don't need the income. You can take risks that level 1 and level 2 people can't take because you have a safety net that generates permanent income. You can say no to things that don't serve you because you're not desperate for money. This is where the psychology gets really interesting. Most people at level 1 think that wealthy people must have earned a ton of money or gotten lucky. But the reality is that most people who reach level 3 got there through consistency, not genius. They spent years operating at level 2, investing steadily, living below their means, and letting compound interest do the heavy lifting. There's no secret strategy. There's no get-rich-quick scheme. It's just math and patience. Here's something that frustrates me about how society talks about money. We've created this mythology that being wealthy is about having a high income or hitting it big with some investment. But according to research from The Millionaire Next Door, the average millionaire drives a car that's at least 3 years old, lives in a middle-class neighborhood, and has been investing 15 to 20% of their income for decades. They're not flashy. They're not showing off. They're just quietly operating at level 2 until they reach level 3. Meanwhile, we see people on social media flashing designer clothes and luxury cars, and we assume they must be wealthy. But here's what the data actually shows. According to a survey by Schwab, 59% of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck, including 40% of those earning over $100,000 annually. These high earners are stuck on level 1 with expensive lifestyles. They look wealthy, but they have no assets. One job loss and their entire life collapses. So let's talk about how you actually move between these levels, because understanding them doesn't help if you don't know how to progress. The move from level 1 to level 2 requires one thing above all else: spending less than you earn. This sounds obvious, but according to the Federal Reserve, 37% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money. They're spending everything they make, sometimes more than they make, which means they can never escape level 1. Here's the brutal truth. If you can't save at least 10% of your income, you're not ready for level 2. You're still trapped in level 1 thinking where money is just for spending. You need to create a gap between your income and your expenses. And for most people, that gap has to come from cutting expenses, not increasing income, because of lifestyle inflation. Every time you get a raise, your expenses magically increase to match. You need to break that cycle. The move from level 2 to level 3 requires two things: time and consistency. You need to keep investing through market crashes, through recessions, through boring years where nothing exciting happens. Most people give up. They invest for a few years, don't see dramatic results, and go back to spending. Or they panic during a market downturn and sell everything at the worst possible time. The people who reach level 3 are the ones who just keep showing up, month after month, year after year, investing consistently regardless of what's happening in the world. Now, I want to address something that I know some of you are thinking. Mike, this all sounds great, but I can barely make ends meet. I don't have money left over to invest. And look, I get it. If you're genuinely struggling to afford food and housing, investing isn't your priority right now. But here's what I've found after talking to thousands of people about money. Most people who say they can't afford to invest are actually spending money on things they don't need. The average American spends $3,526 per year eating out. That's almost $300 per month on restaurants. The average person spends over $200 per month on subscriptions and memberships they barely use. The average car payment is $738 per month for a new car, when a reliable used car could cost $10,000 paid in cash. Most people aren't actually broke. They're just spending every dollar they earn on consumption instead of assets. Here's what you need to do starting today. First, track every single expense for 1 month. No judgment, just data. You need to see where your money is actually going, because I guarantee you're spending way more on non-essentials than you realize. Second, identify your level 1 spending. These are expenses that provide zero long-term value. Subscriptions you don't use, expensive meals out, impulse purchases, brand name items when generic would work fine. Third, cut your level 1 spending by 50%. You don't have to eliminate it entirely, just cut it in half. If you're spending $400 per month on restaurants, cut it to $200. If you're spending $200 on subscriptions, cut it to $100. You'll barely notice the difference in your quality of life, but you'll suddenly have hundreds of dollars per month available for investing. Fourth, automate your investing. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment accounts on the day you get paid. Make it so you never see that money. You can't spend what you don't have access to. Start with whatever amount you can afford, even if it's just $100 per month. The amount matters less than building the habit. Fifth, increase your investments every time you get a raise. This is crucial. If you get a 3% raise, immediately increase your investment contributions by 3%. Don't let lifestyle inflation steal your raises. This is how you accelerate your move from level 2 to level 3. Here's the thing that separates people who build wealth from people who stay broke their entire lives. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's not even income level. It's the willingness to delay gratification. People at level 1 want everything now. They finance purchases they can't afford because waiting is uncomfortable. People at level 2 and level 3 understand that temporary discomfort leads to permanent freedom. Look, I'm not saying you should never enjoy your money. I'm not saying you should live like a miser eating rice and beans in a studio apartment. What I'm saying is that you need to be intentional about your choices. Spend money on things that genuinely improve your life and bring you lasting happiness. But stop spending money on things that are designed to impress other people or provide temporary dopamine hits that fade in 24 hours. The saddest thing I see is people in their 50s and 60s who spent their entire lives at level 1. They worked hard for decades, earned decent money, and have nothing to show for it. No savings, no investments, no path to retirement. Just the hope that Social Security will somehow be enough, which it won't be. And the really tragic part is that it didn't have to be this way. If they had operated at level 2 for just 20 or 30 years, they'd be at level 3 by now. So here's my challenge to you. Figure out what level you're on right now. Be brutally honest with yourself. If you're spending everything you earn with no investments, you're at level 1. If you're consistently investing at least 10 to 15% of your income, you're at level 2. If your investment income exceeds your living expenses, you're at level 3. Most of you watching this are at level 1, and that's okay. The point isn't where you are now. The point is where you're going. Start today. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year. Today. Track your spending today. Cut one unnecessary expense today. Open an investment account today. Even if you can only invest $50 this month, do it. Because the difference between people who build wealth and people who stay broke is that wealthy people started. They didn't wait for perfect conditions or more income or a better time. They just started and they kept going. 20 years from now, you'll either be at level 3 living on passive income, or you'll still be at level 1 wondering where all your money went. The only difference is the choice you make today, your move. Now, understanding these levels is the first step, but there's one giant hurdle that keeps most people stuck on level 1 forever: the comparison trap. You look around at your neighbors, your friends, or people on social media, and it seems like everyone has it figured out. They have the brand new SUV, the designer gear, and the luxury vacations, while you're here trying to budget and invest every extra dollar. It makes you feel like you're losing the game. But I'm going to tell you something that will change how you look at the world. Most of that wealth is a total illusion. If you want to know the shocking reality of what's actually happening behind those rich lifestyles, and why you're probably doing much better than them, you need to watch this next video right here. It's the brutal truth about why everyone seems richer than you. And trust me, it's not what you think. Click right here to see the truth, and I'll see you over there.